The man, the myth, the legend, Gavin White. Welcome to Conduct Detrimental. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Gavin, you're kind of like a celebrity. This is pretty cool having you on the podcast here. We've had some big celebrities on the show, but you might be, you're one of a kind, honestly, your story. But I guess we'll start there. For those that don't know Gavin, I'm not going to call it your 15 minutes because you can take this money and do any number of really special things with it. So you can open up any number of doors. Now people now know your name. But I will say I've seen this Dr. Pepper halftime challenge over years and years. I don't think anybody has been involved in a particularly newsworthy event other than winning like 100,000 in tuition money, whatever it used to be. But Gavin, your story literally went around the world. Certainly, we were very well aware of it. Maybe we can start here. How did you get picked for this? Like, what's the selection process? And then we can certainly talk about what happened in the controversy afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. Well, for one, I've grown up watching this. I'm a huge college football fan. So, just being able to see this and actually be able to take part in it is such a dream come true, just on a fan base kind of level.
You're a
But
freshman, sophomore? What year are you?
I'm a junior.
Okay, junior. Go Buckeyes.
Yeah. Yeah, yes, sir. But no, back in September, I came across the application for it because I was just kind of searching here and there to see if and when it went live. And I stumbled across it like 2 weeks before the deadline was for it. Like, okay. It was great, a 60-second video kind of talking about what you want to do with your career-wise and what the scholarship would mean to you financially, and just kind of present it in a creative way. So with studying atmospheric sciences, I made like a weather broadcast kind of video.
Cool.
And then so obviously they really liked it. Early November, I got a phone call. Said, hey, so so from Dr. Pepper, the whole selection team's on here. We really liked your video. We're going to send you to the Big 12 game in Dallas.
Wow.
Congratulations. Kind of very shocking. It was in the middle of the afternoon, was not expecting to get that call at all. So it was very, made it a very, very nice day here upon hearing that news. November was a big month all around for Ohio State.
Very cool. So, Gavin, I guess we can talk about this. So the clip, and again, we've talked about it in the show before. People, I'm sure, have seen it. People know the rules of the Dr. Pepper challenge. People, I'm sure, were giving you a lot of smack, giving the kind of like basketball pass. That seems to be the consensus. So people complain about that. But the winner here does get life-changing tuition money. So $100,000 goes to the winner's tuition, and the consolation prize is 20 grand. So, it's as much as it is kind of a fun halftime show, it is really big money. So I'm happy that we're sitting here today with you having 100,000 in theory in your pocket for tuition. But I guess we'll talk about what happened. And I don't know the answer to some of these. I don't really answer to all these questions, but so Gavin, I'll tell you from my perspective, and certainly our audience, whoever helped get this to the masses, what the injustice that occurred. I guess we can all take a little bit of a hockey assist, but Gavin, you obviously won the competition, so you get all the credit. Your form, I guess you didn't think I was going to get this granular. I was watching you. You had the right form in terms of quantity of shots. I could tell like you were firing up a lot more shots. How many times have you watched this clip over? I guess that's the first question.
Probably at least a dozen times by now between
So
between the TV clip and what
right.
my dad filmed there. So
So the funny thing is, like, I'm watching this as a fan. I'm from New York, so we're from across the world. Obviously, I've always talked about this in the show. Sports is a universal language. Sports law, we're just explaining different sports issues, but we're all sports fans. And I'm watching you as a sports fan, and I'm like, this guy's got pretty good form. He's firing up a lot of shots, and I was genuinely surprised. I was half watching when you and Ryan went to the first round. I'm like, I'm not sure how Ryan is keeping up with Gavin, because Gavin is firing up a lot, quantities, hitting shots, right? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, so more shots. Very good. So in the first overtime, same thing. You got the shots down, right? You're just keeping your feet set. You're throwing balls up. It was funny. I watched your reaction when you were done. I think you thought you had won. And then what was the first thing after you finished shooting your last shot? I think you hit your last couple. What's going through your mind at that point?
yeah, through my last one, I heard the ref blow the whistle. So I looked at the scores, and at that moment, I read 16-15. So I pointed and started lifting my hands in celebration. And then Ryan's ticked up to 16, and it immediately brought my hands down. But in my mind, I didn't think anything weird was happening. Then I just kind of thought, oh, he got one more off at the very last second. Because I'm not watching him. I can't see what's going on over there while I'm throwing. But
So
I
the
thought I
score,
won, and then I thought he tied it.
that's what I thought. The scoreboard operator is human. Do you know is it automated? Do we know?
It's the refs are doing it.
Refs
It's
are doing it
human.
live. So
Yes.
there was two controversies. Number one, that the count was just inaccurate, that it was for Ryan, and we've talked about this in the show, that it shouldn't have been 6-6. It should have been, if anything, 6-5. And then there's a small contingency that says that Ryan's last shot was actually after the buzzer. So that's why you saw that 6-5 very quickly. So in any event, you know, like I'm sitting there, I'm sure a lot of people were watching it live. Maybe people weren't watching it that closely, but I'm like, this is crazy. So I rewatched it, and then I saw people on Twitter were talking about it. Obviously, we got the word out. So, you know, as fate would have it, you know, you go to that second overtime, right? And in your head, you don't know anything, right? You don't know about a miscount, a late clock. You're not thinking about any of that stuff.
Correct. No, I mean, it's just, okay, we're going on to the next tiebreaker that they assured us we probably won't get to this point anyways. It's brand new this year going into these double overtimes. So in that moment, I mean, I didn't think anything weird was going on. I had no way of knowing it. My phone is in my pocket, wouldn't be able to look at it for another half hour anyways.
Okay.
It's just lining up to take the next shot.
So I'm rooting for you. I'm like, okay, if Gavin hits this, no one will really care about what happens in the first overtime. So at this point, I've fired off no tweets. I'm sure no one else has at this point. So you miss your sudden death shot. And then Ryan goes and hits his clutch shot by Ryan. Shout out to Ryan. We're not saying anything bad about Ryan. You know, I'm happy both of you guys get money here. Okay, so now take us through this part, and then we'll talk about the kind of the aftermath. Immediately, Ryan gets the close up. Ryan gets the picture. You know, the video of him. He's holding a big check. Did they give you a big check, by the way? I didn't see any big check pictures.
They did, yes.
After,
I got a big afterwards, yeah.
What's on it? 20 or 100?
20 right now.
They didn't fix it?
No, so it's in the process. So they said they print one of each, you know, not knowing who's going to win it, and then as soon as it's over, they rip the other one just to kind of protect themselves so no one can run off with it.
They have 100,000 written out for both of you, and 20.
Yes.
They shouldn't have ripped that one up with
They shouldn't have. They shouldn't have.
We threw the challenge flag.
No, they reassured me they're going to print a new one and ship it home. So I'll have it eventually that I can start showing off. But
well, related question, independent of not having the big check, do you have, did they give you the funds that equal 100,000, or are we still waiting for that?
Yes, and it's in the process.
Okay.
It's a lengthy process to get it divvied up to which loans get it, which school, which semester, all that good stuff. So I mean, it's in the process.
See, this part's important, and nothing bad, obviously. So some people were thinking like, yeah, they're going to give Gavin a bag of cash and he's going to get 100 grand. I'm like, well, I didn't see the contract here, but they're saying 100,000 towards tuition. So I would think that Gavin needs to actually pay his tuition, and then he gets reimbursed or loans paid off. But it's certainly not you get 100,000 and they trust you to spend the money. That's not makes sense.
Yeah, no, my bank account will never see that money. it all go to the loans or to the school. So.
No, that's very cool. So okay, so now that we've got the logistics figured out, tell me what goes through your head. You know, when do you realize that something has gone afoot? Like, and obviously, Gavin, the reason you're on this podcast now, you reached out to me. I thought, you know, the moment it kind of passed, I didn't know if you were paying attention to the contract. I'm sure you would have heard of it, but when you reached out to me to thank me, which I thought was lovely, I'm like, I'd love to hear Gavin's story. So kind of fill us in from like point, you're on the field with your dad. I'm sure your dad doesn't know, but how do you figure out that there is some brewing controversy? Because they fixed this during the game, so something must have happened.
Right. I mean, it was after the toss had ended to the time I got back to our seats in the stands. There was about a half hour in between then, and during that time, I just could not look at my phone because it was literal handshake, picture, interview, all that stuff going on behind the scenes. I mean, I had no clue anything was happening. Half hour passes, finally get back to the stands. My dad shows me his phone, and it's mom sending him everything she's seen on Facebook about something's going on. I pull out my phone. I'm not kidding, over 100 notifications just of people saying all sorts of things, congratulations and disappointment, all that stuff. Pull out Twitter. I see, among other things, I see your tweet. I see a tweet from McAfee, I believe. I see the hashtag Justice for Gavin is trending. I just see all this stuff going on, and then we start watching the videos and we realize, oh, there is something else is going on here. Meanwhile, while this is happening, it was where we were in the stadium. It was 3 rows that was all reserved for Dr. Pepper people. The big wig reps that were with the Big 12 game, they all kind of disappeared during this time frame. So we figured they were off dealing with the PR hit that was going on online. Lo and behold, they come back about another half hour later, collect us, take us somewhere else in the stadium and say, hey, there was an on-field counting error. So Gavin was the rightful winner, but we're going to award you both with the $100,000 check.
Oh, Ryan was there when it happened.
Yes.
He's probably worried that they might do a little switcheroo here.
Yes, I'm sure he was.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure he was.
Did you speak? But, I mean, I might be concerned.
I mean, he he seemed worried, but as soon as they said, "We're gonna give you both 100," I mean,
Wow.
he was very relieved. I mean, of course, before I knew any of this was happening, I was very happy for him for winning because I mean, that's huge for anyone. But then it was reciprocated when they announced you're both gonna get it. He was very happy for me. So I mean, it was we embraced each other. It was very, very exciting time.
It's very cool. And I will say, I think Dr. Pepper's probably happy with the result here, as we talked about kind of offline. Like, no one, Dr. Pepper halftime show begins and ends, and no one really thinks about it. But this is a story that will kind of live on. It'll probably be if I ever read a sports law school textbook, I'll give you at least a footnote, if not, if not your own page in the book here. But I think this dedicated a lot of additional attention. So some required viewing for you afterwards. There's a very famous case in law school about Pepsi offering a Harrier jet. Are you familiar with this? What
I'm
happened?
not.
You could look it up afterwards. But Pepsi had a promotion that they said if you collect a certain amount of Pepsi points, you could get a jet, like a fighter jet, which obviously they didn't mean. But this guy collected enough points and it's on Netflix. It's a big documentary about it. But Pepsi doesn't give the guy the jet, and they take him to court, and they're fighting, and it gets really litigious, and the guy never gets the jet, and he spends a lot of money litigating this case. So we were, in our little legal circles, we're like, Gavin's got a case here. It's not a Harrier jet, which is worth like tens of millions of dollars. It's the difference between 120,000. And if you're thinking what Dr. Pepper spent to put all this halftime show on and bring you guys in, and they give these awards, high refs, I'm like, the delta between 20 and 100,000. That's probably in the marketing budget. They should probably do the right thing. Don't take it away from Ryan. Shout out to Ryan. We support Ryan. Let's give them both 100,000, because the extra attention that you brought as a spokesperson, as an ambassador, it's like it's probably worth 80K and avoid, as you kind of mentioned, to avoid the kind of social media storm that's going on and to kind of buy your way out of it. I think Dr. Pepper ends up looking great. So shout out to Dr. Pepper. I think they did the right thing all around.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, not to bash on Coke or Pepsi, but I don't see them doing anything like this for college students at all. So, I mean, Dr. Pepper, for one, they can do whatever they want with it. It's their thing. But the fact that they did choose to do the right thing, despite the online pressure, they still chose to do the right thing, which I applaud. I can't applaud them enough for it.
This is a pro Dr. Pepper podcast. So, listen, I'm probably, you go to the restaurant, you ask for a drink. I am one of the few that says, what other sodas do you have on the menu? So listen, I do not discriminate. I'm a big Dr. Pepper guy. So Gavin, I guess you are now, in sports law folklore, you will be referenced amongst all these random cases that come up from time to time. It is very exciting that you're taking the 100,000 and pursuing a career. I think you said in meteorology.
Correct. Yes.
So what does that entail? Meteorology. What's the plan post graduation? Are you going to
Yeah. I
be
mean,
a local weatherman? I mean, is that in the cards?
that's in the cards. I mean, I'm
Oh,
not fully certain which way I want to go. I mean, broadcast and local news, I mean, definitely there's something very interesting, but at the same time, something more operational within the National Weather Service is also very appealing to me. I'm very open to both doors, and I'm hoping internship wise, something will guide me one way or the other. But definitely very open. We'll be doing something in meteorology. It's just a matter of figuring out which avenue within it I'll be taking.
well, if you have a change of heart and you decide to go to law school, I'm happy to be a resource any way that I can, but certainly very exciting. And listen, I don't know if you've won any, other than the giant check you're going to get, if you've won any awards, but I'm certainly happy to give you the official nomination. We have a very selective criteria to be mentioned in the Sports Law Hall of Fame, but I think, Gavin, this story has at least got you a nomination. I'm not sure if you're going to get the full votes, but definitely Sports Law Hall of Fame nomination for sure.
I appreciate it. I'll put it on my resume. I appreciate that.
Gavin, thank you so much for joining the show. I love your story. And listen, you have a great day. And I guess I guess we should ask you this. Who are you rooting for in the college football playoffs? I think I wouldn't be doing a service if I didn't ask you that question.
That would be anyone but Michigan.
I had
It's
a
a good
feeling.
day if Michigan loses.
I had a feeling. All good, Gavin. Listen, definitely stay in touch. Congrats on everything. And thanks so much for joining the show.
Thank you so much for having me.